This is the Pedego Trail Tracker. I looked at this when it first launched. It was like 2013 Interbike, and it was one of the earlier electrified fat bikes. You know, Pedego's been just sort of like a mainstay in the electric bike space in the Americas, and they've sort of been expanding internationally, and it's cool to see sort of like a step from cruiser designs into a little bit more off-road. You know, this is really, it's kind of just about having fun and romping around the neighborhood maybe, but it's meant to be capable of like snow or sand, and you know, found a little trail here to give it a little bit of an off-road workout. But effectively you're getting a little bit of suspension with those big tires just because there's more air and can kind of get compressed, and more surface area so you don't sink in. And really it's quite capable with the drive system that they've given it. And overall it's a very, very burly frame. It only comes in one frame size, but it does come in several colors like red, black, brushed aluminum, kind of like a lime with lime accents kind of thing. And it keeps it sort of fun. There are two prices for this bike, and they correspond with the battery size that you pick. So both batteries are 48 volt. There's a 4810 and a 4815. And a 4815, you basically have just a larger capacity but similar power output. And the price difference there is, you know, it's like $29.95 for sort of the 4810 or $32.95 for the upgraded version. And you know, it's kind of reasonable. They've basically improved upon the older version of this bike by giving it gears. Okay, like before it was a single speed, which is kind of tough. You can imagine a big heavy bike, and this does weigh about 65 pounds with the battery. You know, that's a lot of weight, and you only have one gear to pedal with. That's not ideal if the battery runs out. Now frankly, you can just throttle all over with this or with this bike. You don't need to pedal if you don't want to. And so I guess a single speed would work in that case, but considering that it has pedal assist, it's nice to be able to keep up and have like a regular cadence, not have to spin real fast at higher speeds or really struggle at low speeds. And so I love that they've got this. It's 7-speed cassette. It's got like a really oversized gear for climbing. Just makes it a little bit easier, gives you better mechanical advantage. And it's Shimano Acera, which is, you know, kind of middle of the line stuff. That is activated through this kind of oversized trigger shifter system up here, Shimano SIS Index. You know, a lot of times like mountain bikes have little like rapid fire shifters down here, and some bikes have, you know, grip shifters. I actually think for this fat bike, the Trail Tracker, it's awesome that they've got this oversized one, because imagine it's cold and snowy and you've got gloves on. Well, this is going to be real easy. You're not gonna like accidentally bump the levers. This is like easier up here, harder down here. They're like completely separate. So love that they did that. They've also got these nice grips with lockers on them. They're not gonna spin. Really good Tektro mechanical brake levers with integrated motor cutoff. And that's important because this does use a cadence sensor for pedal assist. There's 12 magnets, so that's kind of like the upper limit on cadence sensing. And it's fairly responsive, but sometimes you stop pedaling and the bike's still like, you know, it takes it a second, and you know, noticeably longer than when you stopped pedaling. And we'll show that in the ride review later. But basically, if you pull that brake lever and it just cuts everything, that's it. Like the motor will stop. And that's important because maybe you're sliding on the snow or you're coming up to the edge of a cliff on a trail like this. It's just great to have that kind of control. Love that. They've also got just great mechanical stopping power with these 180 millimeter rotors. There we go. There they are, the Avid. Looks like 180 in the front and the rear, and they've got this nice little like red adjustable disc here, so you can actually tighten or loosen those on the fly. You don't need a tool. But of course, if you do have a tool, it's just like a little hex wrench, and you can mess with mechanical disc brakes yourself fairly easily. It's not like hydraulic where you have to bleed them and do all this extra stuff. Of course, the trade-off is that it's a bigger lever and you have to use more hand power to activate them. So, you know, again, for the price range and what you're getting here, I think that was a pretty good decision. I like that they actually included a light on this bike, and it runs straight off of the main battery pack. It's sort of reminiscent of the earlier Pedego electric bikes from like 2012, 2013. They had these sort of aluminum box batteries just sitting on top of a rack. A lot of their newer bikes are surrounded by like metal, and it looks nicer. You can actually mount stuff on top of the rack a little bit easier, like panniers and bags. For the trail tracker, maybe you don't need to carry as much stuff with you. I love that they actually included like bottle cage bosses right here. So you could add a pump, you could add a lock, a water bottle cage. You've got something to work with here. But the rack is sort of limited. So that's the battery. This is 9 pounds, and this is the 48 volt 15 amp hour pack. And then there's like a controller built into here. So it's not as beautiful as some of their other bikes, but got a little friend here. It is very capable. Okay, so gets the job done. It's still very burly, and you know, feels fairly rigid when you're riding. The tire size on these, I think I was saying it's 26 by 4, so really wide. You've got nice tread. I like that the battery actually has like a little LED indicator, but it's only 3 bars. That just helps you, like, if you can take that off to charge, which is great because then you can move the bike easier. It, you know, lightens it up by almost 10 pounds. So it's going to be easier to put on your car or whatever. There isn't a quick release on the front wheel or the rear wheel, which is kind of a bummer because these are huge tires. You know, if you're trying to put this in your car, it just means you have to bring more tools. But they do have like a little torque arm built in, you know, for strength. So, you know, it's very rugged that way. And on the front chainring, there's also like this aluminum bash guard, kind of a chain guide. Should help to keep your pant leg from touching the chain. And they don't have another side, so it's not quite a guide in the way that I've seen on other bikes. And there's no, you know, chain guard. But, you know, the bash guard should help a little bit. And these nice oversized aluminum alloy platform pedals with good nubs on them, so you're not going to slip off that way too easily. And I like that they actually included a kickstand with this bike because so many fat bikes and even mountain bikes and stuff, they just don't have a kickstand. So that's why, to me, the Trail Tracker is kind of like neighborhood with some upside potential for roads and sand and trails and snow and stuff, but it's still, you know, it's not as hardcore as like the Felt Lebowski or the High Bike Fat 6 or something like that. Those, you know, they're with the mid-drive and stuff. This is going to be zippier, gives you the throttle, and it's got the lights, and, you know, it's like a little bit more towards the neighborhood riding, which is fine. Pedego has a great reputation, actually, as a company that does good support, and they have, like, dealerships that are all about Pedego. They have rentals, that kind of thing, and they have a good warranty, like on this battery pack here. The first year is like fully covered, and then the second and third year they sort of prorate like how long you've had the battery, and they give you a discount on a replacement. And that, you know, batteries are pretty expensive, like $700 plus $800 depending on the battery size, and so that's kind of the most expensive part of the bike. Then eventually I think they'll probably get the new design, or maybe they'll enhance it in some other way. Because this is a rather rear-heavy bike. You know, the motor is back here. It's a 500-watt geared, and it's sort of planetary gear, so there's 3 gears, and they sort of spin, and it basically steps up the power so that the motor inside can spin quickly. And you do hear it. You hear it kind of a ring. You know, it's more noticeable than like a gearless motor, but it's also torqueier, which is nice. So, you know, trade-offs all around out there. And I like that they've added a more active saddle here, so that if you do take it off-road and you're pedaling, your thighs and stuff don't come into contact with the saddle as much. And then we've got this sort of seat post suspension thing going on, which is nice. It smooths it out because, you know, obviously there's no suspension really built in. There's no suspension fork, at least. It's just those tires and that seat post. And I'm going to try to take that off real quick and see what size it is. Looks like it's 28.6, so if you did want to replace this with a thud buster or some other, you know, seat post suspension, you could do that. But I recommend then maybe getting like a Salsa lip lock. It's just a really good tight locker ring so that the seat doesn't slide down if you're going over, you know, rough terrain. But I think the spokes on this bike are also like 12 gauge, so, you know, heavy duty stuff. A little bit of a riser handlebar here, brings the grips back towards you, makes it a little bit easier to manage, and you're upright instead of leaning over and getting your back and neck tight. So to get this bike going, you stick the key in, and then you sort of turn it to the on position like that. Kind of hear it click. One of the downsides of this old style of battery is that the keys have to stay in. So this can be kind of dangling around, and if it's on a bigger keychain, you can kind of nick the chain or nick the frame a little bit, which isn't it's a little bit of a nag for me, but you don't lose the key. You can charge it on or off the bike, which is great, and just sort of uses the standard like Molex adapter. There we go. There's the kickstand we were talking about. Once the battery's all charged up, go up here to the display and press the power button, and it sort of comes to life, and it shows your speed. It's in miles per hour right now. Pedal assist level. There's 0 through 5, and in 0, it's like throttle mode. You can activate that throttle. It's variable speed, so a lot or a little. That's really great. And then you've got your battery level. So we've got like 4 out of 5 dots right now. That's pretty cool, 80%. And trip distance, along with odometer and time when you hit set. Now there are other things you can do with the Pedego display panel. You can hold set for a couple seconds here, and it sort of goes into like the setup mode. So you can change the trip distance. You can reset it to 0 by just pressing plus once. And if you hit set again, you can see your top speed. Right now it's 20 miles per hour. That's like the US legal limit. And tire size, so 26 inches. If we somehow Frankenstein this bike out and put some different size tires on, we could change that, which is really cool. And then the final one is changing from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. And again, you just press plus and it changes back and forth. When you're all done, just hold set again for a second and we're back to the main menu. To activate the lights, you just press that power button, and the display has backlighting, and then that nice little light does too. So it's fairly intuitive, like there's enough here to explore, but otherwise, it's relatively clean. And I like that they put the wires through the frame, and they've kind of got this like step down top tube so that when you're standing over it, it doesn't feel like your crotch is right next to the bar. Yeah, there may be other ways. It's fairly heavy in my opinion. I feel like they could do the cutout rims or something to lighten it up, or just, put that battery weight somewhere else. But yeah, in the $3,000 price range, you are getting the nice disc brakes and a really powerful drive system. And that's the thing. I've been climbing around here, and there's some pretty steep hills, and this bike has done a good job. Like, it's definitely one of the more powerful systems out there. There's the cadence sensors I was talking about earlier. So I'm just gonna hop on and just do the throttle for a second. And actually I might do cadence sensing, just so watch for when my feet are turning, and then how quickly it responds to when they stop, if the motor cuts out right away. So I'm gonna go up to like level 5 pedal assist, get myself all situated. There we go. Feeling pretty good. And now we're climbing like a really big hill right here. Whoa, not having a problem. There we go. We came from like way down there by those houses and just powered up this, and I'm filming at the same time, so pretty impressive. Especially, just given the size of this thing, the extra friction with the wheels and the weight and everything. So now I'll go do a little bit more riding here. So I'm going to take the bike just up and around up this hill, and there's some good steep sections and just, dirt and stuff. There's no sand, there's no snow, but at least it'll give you some idea of what it's like to ride this thing off-road. So let's check it out. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give the brakes a test here. Oh yeah. So that is the Pedego Trail Tracker. It's the upgraded version. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier is that the display can swivel, so if it's a bright day like today, you can reduce some of that glare. And there's a built-in charger under the bottom. So there's like a USB port, the female end, and you can plug in your phone. You can plug in maybe like a music device or something, and just use the battery for more than just riding. And same with the light. It's just great that they integrated that all so well. So for the full write-up on the Trail Tracker and other Pedego electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.